You are ambitious. You have big dreams. You want to succeed and eventually live in the life you've always imagined in your mind. But there is one problem. You are lazy. You know exactly what you need to do, but you don't do it. And that creates guilt because deep down you know you're capable of much more. That guilt builds up day by day, week by week, and month by month until it turns into acceptance. Then a new year arrives. You start with the same goals you had last year, full of motivation and a little bit of delusional confidence. But before you know it, laziness and procrastination sneak back into your life, just like that relative who always shows up unannounced. This ongoing procrastination turns into a daily cycle of laziness. Before you realize it, you start labeling yourself as a lazy person. So, how do we break this cycle and get rid of procrastination? There are countless videos on the internet about this, but most of them only address the symptoms like deleting social media or removing distractions. While those things might help in the short term, they don't address the real root of procrastination. That root can be summed up in a single word: interia. In physics, interia is a tendency of objects at rest to stay at rest, and objects in motion to stay in motion unless acted upon by an external force. It's also Newton's first law. And just as it applies to physical objects, it can apply to actions as well. Starting any task, no matter how small, requires an initial push and a certain amount of energy to overcome the interior of being at rest. And that's exactly where the problem lies. In our minds, we make that initial push seem so big and difficult that instead of doing the work, we avoid it altogether and distract ourselves with low value activities that realize dopamine. So, if we want to overcome procrastination, we need to break through this area. And there are two ways to do that. First, start. The hardest part of any task is getting started. Make this stage as easy as possible by reducing the pressure and taking the smallest step you can. For example, if you tell yourself, I need to sit down and finish this 5,000 word article, the interior will feel incredibly strong because the perceived workload is huge. But if instead you tell yourself, I am only going to write 50 words, that interior becomes much weaker because starting now feels easy. And suddenly, you no longer need to rely on willpower or discipline just to begin.